It is fantastic that you're with us today. And you too on Zoom. Glad you're here with us on this picture-perfect week. My name is Yasara Antar, and I am president of the Board of Trustees of Mainline Unitarian Church. Your worship team today consists of these fine people. Dr. Vincent Craig is our music director. Our musical guests are the Bayou Porch Rockers. Dawn Sarsaras Borchelt is our director of Lifespan Faith Development. Our worship associate is Dr. Tracy Simpson. Our ministerial intern is Caroline Bright. And your senior minister is Reverend Morehouse. Anyone new today? Newish? Returning? Second time? Okay. Who are we? UUs affirm each person's individual spiritual quest and a covenant to uphold the community's shared values. We encourage you to seek for truth in your own way at your own pace. We have no creed and avoid doctrinal requirements. Be kind and do no harm. That is not UUA sanctioned. That would require an additional 200 pages. 5 announcements this week. Strange we had none last week. First, you need a reminder on how to make announcements. So every week, Kaylee publishes who the bot announcer is, the board announcer, and the worship associate, and she publishes an e-notes article. The board announcer will call out your announcements. Get in touch with whoever that is. The good news is, bots sign up a month at a time. So next month, you'll have Vice President Barbara Colton. In October, you'll have Barbara Welch. In November, Deidre Gordon. In December, I may be back. Please don't get in touch with the worship associate or Vincent and say, can you pass this along to Reverend John, to pass it along to Dawn Star, to tell whoever. Get in touch with the board announcer. Barbara Colton especially likes 2:30 a.m. phone calls. She here? Barbara? Not here. Thirdly, thank you if you entered artwork for the All About Nature art show. If it's in the fireside still, take it home with you today. Appreciate it, but take it with you. The next show is TAG. The art group is getting ready for the next show, which is on water. That's Saturday, September 9th from 5:30 to 7, followed by the Pew Players. Come for the art. The theme is what? What's the theme? Yeah. Stay for art and drama. If you'd like more information, see Kit Burns. Fourthly, visitors and newcomers, this is for you, which there are none today. There is a UU 101 meeting in the library at 11:15. It's a chance to learn a little about being a UU, introduce yourselves and meet some staff members and ask questions. Please join us. Your first question is probably, where's the library? But there's no one here. So, last and super critical. MLUC Day at Ridley is next Saturday, September 2nd. Starts at 9, ends at dusk. Sign up to register yourself and what you're bringing. Jean and Kit had a skit planned, but I did not know anything about this. I can't call you up. I'm sorry. See them in the atrium after the sermon. After the service, they'll perform it for you there. Jean wants you to know these things. The weather will be excellent. It's at Pavilion number 8. There is no alcohol. Pavilion number 8 is adjacent to the horse farm. Picnic Central is in the atrium. Stop by there, check out the whiteboard, and schedule a list of events. Ask Jean anything you like. Pony rides are back. Special prize to anyone who can find gluten-free desserts that are actually good. Baked goods. They don't exist. Anything else, Jean? There's a sign-up genius. Yeah. Thank you, Jean. Did you get that? Sign up Genius in the e-notes. Sign up. Mary?
I just want to point out that in last week's e-notes and also this morning in here, the totally wrong date for the tag water opening is published.
I just announced that. Yep, we got the tag.
But you didn't say this was wrong.
Okay, I announced the right one, so we're good. Yeah, we're moving on. You got all that? Amen. Please join me in affirming our mission statement. Together, we transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith.
Thank you. Thank you all for showing up. Maybe just for the air conditioning, but I'm glad you're here. Our chalice words this morning come from Carolyn LeBain. This isn't just a place where we worship. This isn't just a fellowship of minds. This isn't just a Sunday morning filled with spirit and topped off with cookies and coffee. Although, parenthetically, when I first came here, there was a newsprint outside the meeting room door. It said, "What is church good for?" And some kid wrote cookies. This is our church. This is our congregation where we are building a beloved community, where we're opening ourselves up to each other with trust and love, rise and fall. And we do this together. This is where we feel safe. This is where we feel welcomed. This is where we belong. And for this gift and many others, we light our chalice. so much. That's beautiful. Love that music. I do feel like I'm in New Orleans, I have to say. It's so hot here. All right. Our call to worship today is a call and response. The response from you all is the grammatically incorrect, hey, ain't that good news? Let me hear you say, hey, ain't that good news? From my friend John Corrado. We believe that there's a place at God's table for each and every child of earth. Hey, ain't that good news? We believe the giver of life has been given many names and loves the givers of all of them. Hey, ain't that good news? We're more interested in getting heaven into people than getting people into heaven. Hey, ain't that good news? We believe there's some holy writ yet to be written. Hey, ain't that good news? We believe that true evangelism is more preaching practice than practice preaching. Hey, ain't that good news? We believe peace and justice are not just words we form with our lips, but realities we shape with our lives. Hey, ain't that good news? We believe in one race, the human race. Hey, ain't that good news? We believe we are one with stars and trees and tigers and rivers and all the stuff of life. Hey, ain't that good news? And finally, we believe our lives are all about growing hearts that love, minds that seek, and hands that serve. Hey, ain't that good news? Our opening hymn is number 21. Number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. Please rise in body or spirit.
We're done.
This is who?
This is Eeyore.
And this is Piglet.
We also have
Tigger. The trouble with Tigger is I'm the only one.
Kangaroo.
Rabbit. I identify with Rabbit. I have many friends and relations. And Owl. They aren't in this story, but we brought them anyway. These are mostly my stuffed animals from my childhood, with an extra pig because my pig got lost somewhere at some point. So the story we're telling has been around for a very long time, and you may have heard it before. We picked this story to play with this morning because it's about how sometimes you're happy and sad at the same time, and sometimes you're even happy and sad about the same thing at the same time. One day, in the 100-acre wood, Pooh found out that it was Eeyore's birthday. Eeyore was always rather sad, but on this day, he was specifically sad that it was his birthday and nobody had done anything about it. Pooh decided to give Eeyore a small pot of honey. Piglet decided to give Eeyore a red balloon. But on their separate ways back to Eeyore, Pooh, being Pooh, got hungry. He sat down and he ate all the honey. Only then did he realize that he was supposed to be giving that honey to Eeyore. He decided to clean out the jar, and he got Owl to write "Happy Birthday" on it, which reads "Hippy Pappy Birthday." And perhaps it would be useful. Piglet, being Piglet, was hurrying, and he fell down and popped the balloon, which was very startling. And then he was also sad because he only had a popped balloon to give to Eeyore. When Piglet arrived at Eeyore's stream, he put a brave face on it.
I've brought you a present. I brought you a balloon.
Balloon? Did you say balloon? One of those big colored things you blow up? There was a very long silence.
Yes, Eeyore, here it is. With many happy returns of the day.
Why, thank you, Piglet. You don't mind my asking, but what color was the balloon when it was a balloon?
Red.
I just wondered, because red was my favorite color. How big was it?
About as big as me.
I just wondered, about as big as Piglet, my favorite size.
Piglet and Eeyore were both rather sad for a time. And then Pooh arrived. I've brought you a present. It's a useful pot. Here it is. And it's got a very happy birthday with love from Pooh written on it. That's what all that writing is. And it's for putting things in. There.
Oh.
When Eeyore saw the pot, he wasn't quite sad anymore. In fact, he became quite excited.
I can put my balloon in it.
Oh no, Eeyore, balloons are much too big to go in pots. What you do with a balloon is you hold the balloon.
Not my balloon. My balloon goes in and out, like that.
So it does. It goes in.
So it does, and it comes out.
Out. Doesn't it just go in and out like everything in life?
I'm very glad that I thought of giving you a useful pot to put things in.
I'm very glad I thought of giving you something to put in a useful pot.
But Eeyore wasn't listening. He was putting things in and out and out and in.
And he was as happy as could be.
Yes.
I invite the children and youth to join me in the McGinnis room. We'll leave our characters here for you to enjoy.
So each month, we donate half our weekly collection to a worthy organization in need. Over the summer, our recipient of our offering outreach is Interfaith Hospitality Network. Is Family Promise of the Mainline, formerly Interfaith Hospitality Network. This commitment continues to support when we pledge each summer for several years. Our involvement with Family Promise extends beyond this offering outreach. We host families here at the church. Volunteers come and provide meals, prepare their sleeping space, and spend time with them during their stay here. The offering will now be greatly received. Will the ushers please come forward?
So this song is called Heritage Waltz, and it is in Cajun French, and it says that I taught the children their language, and we celebrated our food and Louisiana, and I was born a Cajun, and I'll be a Cajun when I die. Préserver le langage de Cajun, à la musique qu'on aimait, et nos petites écoutaient. Mais tant que pour moi, c'est ici, mais pour rester, j'étais Cajun quand j'étais né. Et je serai Cajun quand je vais mourir.
Thank you. Thanks. Our partner church committee invites us to light a candle and send our condolences to the minister of our partner church in Varvara, Romania. Reverend Zsolt Barabbas and his family mourn the death of his father, who died last week after a 2-year battle with cancer. We hold Reverend Zsolt and his family in our hearts. We hold you in our hearts. Our new Director of Finance, Facilities, and HR, Mr. Mark Rizzo, is in Rochester, New York this week with his father, who suffered a stroke in August. Please join me in lighting a candle of hope for his father. His father is still in rehab and making some slow progress. For Mark Rizzo and his father and their family, we hold you in our hearts. And finishing with a candle of joy, Michael and Teresa Zink would like to light a candle of joy because they are happy that their next-door neighbors, Ron Oriel and John Holmes, signed the membership book today. For Michael and Teresa and Ron and John, we hold you in our hearts. And for joys and sorrows, too deep for words, we light another candle. So our reading today is called Life's Song. It was written by somebody called SLB, and I looked everywhere to find who that is. Is it a man? Is it a woman? What was the reason behind it? But I fell in love with it, and I wanted to share it with you. And after I finish, please join me in a moment of reflection after the reading. Life is a song, written and produced by God, but arranged by you. It may be long and melancholy, or brief and joyful. You could sing of love, pain, anger, bitterness, regret, or you could sing a beautiful and special song of strength and hope that moves others who witness it to hum it softly. Life, like a song, has high notes and low notes and wrong notes. No song is perfect, but with dedication and practice, you'll learn from any mistakes. So keep practicing and never give up. This life is your song, and how your song is heard is of your direction. But remember, you only get one song. Make it memorable, because when you're gone, your song will still live on and forever linger in someone's heart. And the singing bowl is singing a song without me.
Thank you, Tracy. Well, thank you for coming back for a second Sunday of my debut. In fact, it's good to see so many of you here on a hot August day. I want to let you know that I will begin by admitting many things, probably more things than my beloved would like me to admit. But one of the things that I admit to being is something of a hopeless romantic with a brooding touch. When I was in high school, I went to Solbury School in New Hope, Pennsylvania, just up the river from here. And a beautiful school, lots of experimentation of all kinds. And I would open the windows on a perfectly beautiful spring day and blast Verdi's La Traviata through the air as I sat looking melancholic out at the imperfections of the world. Needless to say, I didn't have a lot of friends. But my attraction to the melancholy of life is, I think, more than just the result of the challenges that I've faced through the years. It seems to live in my soul. It seems to be there along with joy and sorrow and bitterness and sweetness. And I love living, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love being alive, and those I love make it even more complete. But my creative life has always been this dance between the bitter and the sweet. I cry at movies. I'll cry at a good commercial, I gotta tell you. I feel great pangs of sorrow and angst when there is harm being done to little children and animals. And I generally love solitude over crowds, present company accepted, of course. One of my favorite verses of all time comes from William Blake. Joy and woe are woven fine, a clothing for the soul divine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silk and twine. It is right, it should be so. We are made for joy and woe, and when this we rightly know, through the world we safely go. Is it not true? Joy and woe. For every setback, there is often a small triumph. Sometimes you have to look for the triumph in places that you wouldn't recognize, like getting out of bed the next day. Susan Cain, who wrote the book Quiet. Anybody know that book? Good book, yes. If you're an introvert, you should read this book. If you're not an introvert, you should read this book to understand what introverts are like. But she said this in her latest book: if we could honor sadness a little more, maybe we could see it as the bridge we need to connect with one another. We could remember that no matter how distasteful someone's opinions, no matter how radiant or fierce they may appear, they have suffered, as we all have. Now let's face it, as a country, we are famous for being happy. I can tell you this is not always appreciated in the rest of the world. You Americans are always so happy. You smile for the camera, always. Even if your life is falling apart, you manage to smile. It's embedded in most of our culture. You're expected to be happy at your job. You're expected to be happy at happy hour. You're expected to be happy at home. You're expected to be happy here, generally speaking. And there's nothing wrong with being happy as long as you are actually happy. But let's face it, we aren't always happy. And pretending we're happy when we're not, when we're blue like Eeyore, is, well, disingenuous. The blues, both as a musical genre and an emotional state, are the shadow side, I think, to all this happiness in America. I want to acknowledge right now that I will have my bad days. This is a trigger warning. I will have my bad days. I will sometimes not be the happy, cheerful self that I usually am. You have your bad days, and that is what makes the bitter and the sweet come together in our daily living. And for marginalized people who have more bad days than sometimes good, I hope we will keep that in mind, because our lives are probably not as bad as they could be. And if we can learn to accept this as a community, as a congregation, and think just because someone's having a bad day or an angry day, that they don't need to be medicated. Medication's okay. It's completely okay. But let there be a little shadow to the sunshine, shall we? Let there be a little bitterness to the sweet. The dark has much to teach us, friends, and we may find our healing within it. I think you probably have found your healing within it in your own life. So on this bright, sunny, hot, humid day, I'd like you to turn to your neighbor, and if you don't know who they are, why not ask their name, and let's answer a question, what have you learned from the dark? Let's just take a couple of minutes to do that. What have you learned from the dark? Well done, everyone. Well done. Well done. I can see this is going to get worse, not better, right? All right, a couple of shout outs, if you will. What have you learned from the dark? Anyone? Say it again.
I can endure.
I can endure. Yeah, that's good. Anyone else? Yeah.
It's always followed by light.
It's always followed by light. Yeah. Yes, in the back.
In the dark, I found there's lots of lights, and small lights in everyone, and everybody has a light, whether what size it is, maybe decided on our awareness.
That's a good answer. Longer, and I'm not sure I'll get all of it, but in the darkness there are little bits of light, and there's little bits of light in all of us. You notice that, right? When you're in a dark room where you've shut the light out, and then first when you shut it out, it's like dark. And then your eyes become accustomed to it, and you see little shadows and little sources of light. Yes, in the back, in the very far back.
Babies just state and seeds grow.
One more time.
Babies just state and seeds grow.
Babies just
Gestate.
gestate and grow. In the dark, right. Babies, seeds, plants, you need to be in the dark in order to have life. Yes, over here.
If you want to see the stars, the dark is indispensable.
You want to see the stars, the dark is indispensable. Wow. Hey, get an amen to that? Amen. Yeah, that's good. I like that. That's good. That's good. One more over right here. The dark periods you've learned empathy for other people. Yeah, absolutely. I hope you notice that it's the coming and the going, that we often use darkness as, or if we are able to use darkness, we use it as a way of coming out of something into the light and going back in. And I think that's true of all of our lives. All of our lives are these journeys of going from and to the darker places, returning again. And of course, it's the cycle of the days, right? It's the cycle of night. It's the cycle of the seasons. I want to give you a story from my own life in which I dealt with a very long period of darkness. When I was about 10, my brother, who at that time was a little over 2, had been toddling around after me and my friends, and I found it quite annoying. My mother had asked me to watch him outside. We lived in the Hudson River Valley of New York. Now, I was playing with my friends, and honestly, I just lost track of my 2-year-old brother until I heard my mother yelling at me, "Where is your brother?" We had a spring-fed swimming pool with no fence. My mother knew instantly where to go and ran to the pool, saw him in there, dove in, pulled him out, gave him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. He spewed up water and he started to breathe. She took one long look at me. Not a word. That darkness stayed with me for decades. An essential shame or a blame that I had somehow failed, that I almost had cost him his life. It would affect my moods. It led to a real anger problem when I was younger. It cost me my first marriage. With a lot of therapy and with a lot of love, I eventually was able to move beyond that darkness and to realize that this was not my fault and that he didn't die and that I came to know him very well and love him very much. The darkness that I went through, and all of you have stories of darkness that you've gone through, helped me to become who I am today, to reflect on the world more deeply, perhaps to make the healing all the more stronger. All of us have lost something in our lives. We've lost a loved one, we've lost our health, we've lost a job, we've lost a career, we've lost our way, we've lost our religion, and perhaps we found it again. All of us have gone from darkness back into light. We have felt the bitter and we have known the sweet. And of course, this is infused in almost all the great myths. I think of the Greek myth of Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of the earth, who was kidnapped, some say sold off by her father Zeus, into the underworld to be the bride of Hades. Her mother Demeter, so stricken with love in a darkness, although she was upon the earth in its light, let all the crops wither. And finally, it was only when the world seemed it was going to shrivel up and die that Zeus finally went back and intervened with Hades and said, "You have to let her go." Persephone is often portrayed as an innocent in all of this, but in fact, in the darkness, she had learned much. She ruled over Hades for a while. She learned how to be more guile and cunning, and she learned how to overcome great adversity. When Hades left her to go back up to the world of light, he gave her a pomegranate, and she ate a few of the seeds, and of course, when she did that, she was then bound by those seeds to come back to Hades for a season a year. We all lose our naivete. We all lose our innocence. We all embrace the bittersweet in different ways as this dance between the shadow and the light. I think we are honest Unitarian Universalists because we understand that it's not all roses and daisies and sunshine. That we understand that the world is a difficult place, and that our place within it is to try to make the world a better place, even the very small part of the world that may exist only in this room. Susan Cain put it this way when she said, "The secret of our poets and philosophers and what they've been trying to tell us for decades is that the longing is the great gateway to belonging. Longing is the gateway to belonging." How many of you here today belong to this community because you have found it when you needed it the most, right? This is the time when you came through the door, and I tell this to membership people all the time. I say, always be aware that if someone's here for the first time, something's probably changed in their life. Think back to the first time you came here. You are in the right place because you are in the place where we both recognize that light and dark have to play. There are a few rules that I've discovered over the years in which we can embrace the bittersweetness of life in a way that helps us move through it with a little more lightness of step. I think the first is to let go of our expectations, right? This is the first law of the Dharma that the Buddha taught. It says all life is dukkha from the Pali, which actually means suffering or expectations. If we expect things to turn out a certain way and they don't, we are usually unhappy. Think about the weather. for instance. Or think about that time when you thought you were going to get the job. I remember a time when I thought I was going to get the job. I just finished my first ministry in South Bend, Indiana, and I had applied to be the senior minister in Vancouver, British Columbia, the largest church in Canada. Somehow or other, I became one of the pre-candidates. I was all of, 33. But I was a little more fit with a full head of hair. And I thought I was all that in a bag of chips, as they say. So it went pretty well. I thought the weekend went well. The interview went well. They loved Francis. In fact, they should have given the job to Francis. They should have not bothered with me at all. And of course, Vancouver, for those of you who've been there, is a beautiful city. British Columbia is a beautiful place. The sermon that I did at the Edmonds, Washington Church, which is where Robert Fulghum was minister, for those of you who remember Robert Fulghum, there went really well. I thought excellent, all around excellent. And then, of course, comes the waiting. And the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, and I hadn't heard anything, one way or the other, and they hadn't announced anyone. And I realized that I was not going to be there. This is the way it is. I began thinking about all the things that went wrong, right? We all do this. What if I didn't use the chopsticks the right way at the first dinner? Francis will remember this. They pull out their chopsticks in a restaurant and they start scraping them back and forth. You all know about this? Back and forth with the chopsticks? Apparently you're supposed to get the splinters out. In all the years I've used chopsticks up to that point, I never had a splinter when I was eating my sushi. But there it is. So I'm, trying to do the thing. And then I thought, well, maybe I had lettuce in my teeth. I mean, crazy making stuff, right? This is where your expectations lead you into paranoia. You want to avoid that if possible. And after this, by the way, this was after some years of Buddhist mindfulness training. Okay, I was supposed to not hold on to expectations. A lot of good that did. But as time went by and I realized that this wasn't going to be, something else changed. And I realized, I think, in that moment that life is always not quite what you think it's going to be, right? Your relationship is not a love song. Your new car has French fries between the seats. Your kids disappoint you, which if they haven't already, they will. Your parents disappoint your kids. Happens all the time. We become ill, we fail at losing weight, or we lose weight, we put it back on. We stave off aging, but the inevitable sags and drags. And of course, there's never enough of you name it, right? Money, love, acceptance, sex, life satisfaction, white teeth. Anybody here know what I'm talking about? So here it is, the bitter and the sweet, and they are woven fine. But if we can recognize that living with the two together as a whole makes us more complete, then I think we can become something more than we expected. Now, this will mean that you'll have to let go of some of these expectations. Like the monkey putting a hand in the jar to get the banana, right? And that's how they catch the monkey, because the monkey won't let go of the banana. I would guess that most of us have held on to that banana before, right? So I think we have to understand that if we're going to live with the bitter and sweet, if we're going to embrace it, we have to let go of how things will be. Those of us who work with victims of domestic violence know that women who stay with abusive men stay often with the expectation that their partner will change, that the sweetness will overcome the bitterness, but it usually doesn't. So how do we live with the bitterness, and how can we let it go? I don't have all the answers, but I do know that one of the things that you have to do is live your life with a little more balance. There needs to be, as they say with the millennials now, a balance between work and life. You've wondered why we've had the great resignation in America. I think that an entire generation has decided that all the bitterness and working and working and working and working is not really the balance they were looking for. We have to let go of the overbearing power of expectations to hold us to a certain standard that we may not ever be able to reach. Perhaps we shouldn't reach. Now, this means that I have to take your compliments very lightly. Thank you for the compliments, by the way. They've been lovely, just lovely. But I realize, as Frances always reminds me, that I'm only as good as my last sermon. So don't rest on your laurels, buddy, is how she puts it. Embracing the bitter and sweet is easier when we live with an understanding of balance and an understanding of mission. And I love that your mission is easy to say and remember, by the way. Most UUs have these long mission statements, like a laundry list of everything we're going to be in the world. Yours is transforming lives. Beautiful. Maybe it's not always what you expect it to be. Maybe it has to be something else. But if you can hold on with a little balance and a little mission, I think your life will turn out better than you imagine. Perhaps it already has. I was not selected to be the senior minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Vancouver, British Columbia. The search committee, I later learned, was split. About half wanted me because I was young and brassy, and they loved my wife. And the other half wanted a most excellent and respected colleague, and in the end, they made the right choice. They didn't select me, and she turned out to be just what they needed. Frances and I went on to serve a congregation, a fellowship of 90 adults and 6 kids that had been meeting in the basement of the YMCA for 30 years. They just bought their first building, a little bungalow, and they wanted to make a real church. Yeah, that turned out to be an 11-year job. It's funny how life works out. It got done. 300 or 400 adults, 200 kids, a new building. I had to go to California for 10 years on what I call a working sabbatical. It's funny, though, the irony of things, right? How things work out in different ways. And one of my interns from my last church in Westport became the interim senior minister in Vancouver, British Columbia. Small world. The point is that we need to learn to let go of what fails and seek new ways to drive ourselves forward, to find that mission, to give yourselves the permission to fail, because failing is a teaching moment, not a moral weakness, friends. When I was training for entrepreneurial ministry at Northwestern University in Chicago, one of the professors said, you have to fail early and often. That's how we learn, fail early and often. So there'll be some failing here. Hint, there'll be some failing. We'll try some things that some of you won't like, and remember that we're just trying them. Because when we put down the ideas of what life should be, we may be able to embrace life as it actually is. And what's possible? A great deal. If we admit our full humanity, we can dwell in the swirl of the world. We can see what's wrong. And in the pain, perhaps, of pessimism and despair, realize that we will come out the other side. We'll stop playing the blame game. We'll stop looking for the best, what we thought we should be, and accept ourselves as we are, driven still by a mission to become better people. I say we move from bitterness to sweetness and back to bitterness again, and that we wrap ourselves in the fabric of living. The fabric of living. Let's embrace it. I still listen to opera. The staff doesn't know this yet, but when I write my sermons, I like to listen to opera. I occasionally listen to the blues, but I'm just as happy listening to the Bayou. Together we create this deeply soulful community that will be so attractive for so many who have been hungry to find that place where the Spirit lives in honesty. And together we'll do that. Who is with me? Yeah. Amen. All right. Our closing hymn is number 354. We laugh, we cry.
A child is born among us and we feel a special glow. We seek to end this journey as we watch the baby grow. We still dedicate our minds and hearts and in the strength of love. Is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder. Our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us with pain and grief. But is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the we search for truth, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here.
And we have gathered here, as we will every week, to find and hold one another in the strength and the frames of our lives. We extinguish our chalice, but not the flame in our heart, for that flame carries on through the dark and into the light. Go, friends, in peace, for now the service truly begins. Please remain seated for the postlude.
So we are Bayou Porch Rockers. This is Tom Marks from Elverson. This is your own Jansen Wendell. And I'm Nancy Weston, and I'm from the Unitarian Church of the Lehigh Valley. We're going to do a song called Misery Two-Step, and we had no idea it was going to fit so well with the sermon because it's such a joyful sounding song, but its name is Misery Two-Step. And the Cajun music has also been influenced very strongly from the early roots of the Black Creole fiddlers and accordion players. And the song is by Karen Ray Fontenot, who is a Black Creole fiddler. Dancing is permitted.
Goodbye, Joe, you gotta go, me, oh my, oh. So you gotta go, pull the road down the bayou. My Yvonne, the sweetest one, me, oh my, oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Everybody, jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see my share of me, oh. Guitar, fill fruit jar, and be gay, oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. The place is buzzing. People come to see Yvonne by the dozen. Dress in style, go hog wild, me oh my oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see my share of me oh. Big guitar, fruit jar and be gay, oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Settle down far from town, get me a piero, and I'll catch all the fish in the bayou. Swap my mom to buy Yvonne what she need, oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm going to see my share of me, oh. Big guitar, fruit jar and be gay, oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. One more time. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou.
Thank you so much.